thank you very much for being here with us. I have just questions.
Okay.
First one is, seeing as you studied medicine,
Yes.
and later on did a master's in psychological science.
Okay, yeah, no, that isn't quite, but it's okay, carry on. I studied medicine as part of my medical degree. We do physiological sciences.
Physiological?
Yeah, but that's part of the medical degree. It's part of the medical program at Oxford. You do an extra degree.
Right.
Yeah. But I switched into banking after that, and then business school, and then, yeah.
So, what inspired you to make the transition into banking?
It wasn't really a decision to move from medicine to banking. At the end of medical school, I actually got a job in in a hospital on the surgical team, and I got a job in a bank in London. And I decided to try working in the bank for a year to see what it was like. And I really intended just to see what it was like and then go back to the medical job. And I loved it, so I ended up staying. And I think, in life, one path leads you to another. And at each junction, at each point, I just try to make the best decision based on the situation at that time.
What are the greatest challenges with occupying such a stake role in a large corporation such as Google?
I'd say we're a growing corporation, so we have a lot of challenges that big companies probably don't have. We have to worry about finance, we have to worry about putting the correct systems in place. We're operating in a challenging environment, and I think there are pros and cons of being in Nigeria versus being in a more developed country. I think the opportunities here far outweigh the cons, so this is definitely the right market to be in. And being in this market as a growing company that started very small and is getting bigger, we have a number of huge challenges, everything from the regulatory environment, navigating that, to financing, which is probably the biggest one, to bringing clients on board, because clients are used to operating in a market where they have a lot of control, particularly if they're foreign companies. And over the past 5 years, basically during this administration, the indigents in Nigeria have gained a lot of power in the market. And that has changed the dynamics between us and our client. I think it's changed it in a positive way, and I think some of the clients are beginning to realize that, because greater indigenous participation has actually led to us adding more value. So now local content isn't just about foreign companies subsidizing local companies. Local companies are making huge investments. So that's a positive change for the market. But any change causes disquiet, it makes you feel uncomfortable, and you have to get used to it. So there's a lot of challenges when you're operating in a dynamic, complicated, high-powered, expensive market.
What sort of sacrifices have you had to make to achieve what you have so far?
I think on a personal level, anything you do in life means you're making choices. So I don't really see them as sacrifices. Maybe worst case scenario, you're talking about opportunity costs, but as I said, every decision I make, I always think about it, and I want to make a decision in such a way that I never have any regrets. So there's a saying which is one of my favorite sayings, which is your life expands in proportion to your bravery. So whenever I'm facing a difficult decision, I always think, am I making this decision because I am afraid to make any other decision, or I'm afraid to move on, or something like that? And I always try and make a decision that really pushes the boundaries of what's possible. That means you have to let go of a lot of things. I spend a lot of time in the office. I don't spend a lot of time at home. I don't spend a lot of time with my friends, but that's a choice. And there are pros and cons of that. And at a certain point in my life, I may make a different choice. But I would just encourage people not to worry too much about the downsides of their decision. But once you've made a decision, just make the most of the opportunities that decision puts in front of you.
All right, touching on my earlier question, seeing as you've worked in medicine and banking, so how has the transition been changing?
I think this is really an example of God working in mysterious ways, because I definitely didn't plan to have this career path. But having worked in so many different fields and having so many degrees has prepared me for the role I have in my role now. Because we do so many different things. We're building a small industrial town out of nothing. So that means I get involved in everything from training, teaching the cleaners how to clean, talking to the secretaries about writing letters, and then you're also raising hundreds of millions of dollars, talking to local and international bankers. So, you know, you really have to cover a lot of things which people, I think, working in the developing market probably wouldn't get involved in. On the other hand, that also means that my job is really rich, and my job is really varied. No one day is ever, you know, over the past 10 years, I haven't ever had 2 days that are exactly the same. And there's always new challenges, which I think energizes me. But I definitely wouldn't have been able to succeed in that role if I hadn't had the career path that I had in the past.
Do you consider yourself to be an inspiration to younger people aspiring to be successful in similar professions, considering that the corporate world is one that tends to quickly dismiss women?
I think you're right in that they do dismiss women. I don't really consider myself an inspiration. I think that's a bit too, I think that's a bit extreme. I mean, I hope that, you know, I'm someone that, you know, they can get advice from, because I think women need to help other women. I think we need to collaborate. I think Nigerians need to help other Nigerians. In the same way that women are dismissed in a lot of environments, not just in the corporate environment, even in the home environment, Nigerians are dismissed in the world. You know, people, the difference between reality in Nigeria and perception of Nigeria is huge. We don't get credit for any of the good things that we've done, and people are always talking about the negative. So in that respect, I think the success I think we're having as Nigerians now is coming from our looking to ourselves more, you know, doing our own financing, going into the market, and having a government that allows us to do that. Like, people don't really understand, maybe because we've been so close to local content for the past decade, we can really see the change of what's happened in the country in the past decade. Similarly, if you look at women's issues, women have to empower themselves, which is a really difficult thing to do, but no one is going to come, you know, like the suffragettes, no one came and gave women the vote. No one's going to come and say, oh, I'd really like to hear what you have to say. I've been in meetings where people have walked out because they don't want to deal with women. I've been in meetings where I've said the same thing twice, or 3 times, or 10 times, and the person just doesn't listen, it's totally dismissive. And that can be a humiliating experience. And as women, we go through that more than people realize. And I think as a woman, you just have to find ways to overcome that. And that means you have to be smart, you have to be aggressive if you need to be, you have to lead from behind. You know, for me, I'm always focusing on the outcome. So it's not, if I'm in a meeting with someone and they're not listening to me, and for whatever reason I think they are never going to hear me, I have the gentleman who works for me sitting next to me say the same thing I've just said and deliver the message. The important thing is the outcome. And I think as women, we have to find different techniques to get the outcome we want, because people aren't going to give us any free rides. And when there are enough of us at the top of these industries, then we can start to create even greater change. But to get to the top of the industry, we have to find innovative ways to make our voice heard.
Last question. If you could give one piece of advice to someone my age who would be looking to emulate a similar career or achievement, what would it be?
So similarly, if you're a young person today, be prepared to work really hard. And in that working really hard, I think it's important to be passionate. So if you're going to put that much effort into something, and you have to put that much effort in to be successful, it's got to be something you love. It's got to be something you're passionate about. So don't be afraid to spend a bit of time figuring out what your passion is, and be brave about taking opportunities that come your way. And when you find your passion, put 150% into it.